Alright, welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. So, yesterday we got our warp zones working here for walking into a place like the cabin. And then we're technically, if we look at our map, we're at 111, which is in the other world territory of our global map tile set. So we're like at 111 and then 7.2. So that's why we call it a warp zone, because it warps you. It doesn't just go from 7.3 to 7.4, but it'll go from like 7. Well, that was a bad example because that was linking back to the lizard place, the gecko place. So we don't have a indoor dungeon for this room just yet, but we have all the pieces to start to add it together. One thing, if you caught that, like as he's walking in, he'll swap animations sometimes, and it depends if he's on his default animation or not. So one thing I think we want to try to fix today is to actually get an idle state for our player. Because right now, we technically, let's see, if we want to see what state our player is in, I know we can print this up. Let's see where we might do that. So yeah, let's see if we can find a place where we do a change state to, because there's a global state machine change and there is a player entity state machine. So we want to find where we're changing our player's state, but I don't even see where we're changing it ever. So let's just take a look here. We'll go to our player class and we'll see if we have any change. We don't. Maybe in our idle state we have where we change it. See, we have right here, change state to player walk. Okay, so we have in our player, our global player will have a state. Now we're calling the change state method on the entity itself. So the self.entity is just the player. So I'm wondering if there's just a way where we can just see the state name. Just print the state name somewhere. So let's see if we can print up our player's state here. So we'll try to do dot. I don't think I don't know. I don't know what we have to put in there in order to see. See, that's a nil. So if we say state, I feel like that's a nil too. Yeah. Now there might be player state. Oh, we do print this up. So let's see how we do that. It is what? How are we doing that? Player underscore state. That can't be working. That cannot be working. What is that? Yeah. We broke this at some point. Our player state is nil. We broke that at some point, and I don't remember when we broke that. Let's see if we can put the state machine. Okay, so that it knows it's a table. It knows it's a table, so maybe we have the name field. If we look at our actual walk state, let's see. We should have. We don't have a title. Player state is a global one. See, so we ended up doing some. We basically had done this in the past at some point, and we just made a global variable called player state to handle what state we're in for the player. I don't think I like that, but I don't know of how to. I don't know how to get the name of whatever state our player's in. So I think, and let's see in our walk state. See, we have player state gets walk, and then in our idle state, we have player state gets idle. So we have global variable access to this player state, so we can check it out from there. Let's see. Player state. I just want this outside of any. This is where I want it, right here. Okay, so let's check it out. Okay, we're in a walk state. See how we never go to idle? We never go to idle state, ever. And I think that's what's causing that little flip to happen. As soon as we walk into another thing, he kind of swaps back. It depends. If we start a warp transition when he's not on his default frame for his walking animation, see, like, he always defaults to the same frame so that you can kind of step like that, and it resets the animation time. But if we end it where he's not on that default frame, he kind of swaps back. So I think we might want to change. First of all, we want to make sure we're switching to our player idle if we're engaged in a warp transition. And then if we're in an idle state, we need to make sure that we set our default frame to be the default frame, so that that reset happens the frame we warp transition instead of the frame we'd load from our warp transition. So I think we want to do something with that. So let's check out our idle state and see what, if anything, we've got in there, because we're not triggering it at all here. So here's the play state, or the idle state update. And we refresh our current animation. And if we're moving, if we have any inputs on our touch or our keyboard for direction inputs, then we're going to be changing our state. If we're falling, see, I guess you can't really be falling if you're idle. I guess maybe you could be. Okay, so this refresh, this entity current animation refresh, let's take a look at what that is. So that would be in current animation. I think it would be in our animation class. So let's see. It was refresh, like this method refresh, or nope. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So our refresh does... Gosh, here. Our refresh resets the timer, resets the current frame, and resets the times played, which all factors into how the animation's working. So, if we were to either call this current animation refresh upon a warp, maybe we start there, and if that fixes it, then we'll continue on to make sure that we're getting the idle state upon a warp also. But let's see if we can do that. So we're triggering this warp zone at some point. Is it in our player class? Because we're triggering... Let's see. I know we... Let's see our warp zone class. So we have a collide method, but this isn't where we are actually checking for the warp zones. So let's see the warp zones. That's where we insert them. Here. Okay, so we're going to cycle through our warp zones if we have a warp zone. For every warp zone, we're going to see if we collide and we're not already warping. If we're not already warping and we collide with a warp zone, we're going to trigger our starting scene transition, become warping. So here is where I want to say, let's just refresh, not our self entity, but our global player. Current animation, we're going to refresh it. Let's just see if that fixes our problem. I think we can go ahead with the idle state stuff. So let's see. Yeah, it's still screwing up. So like, see how he switched hands down here. Yeah. So I'm kind of curious if we print up what the current animation frame is, or the current, let's see. In our animation, we have a current frame, so we can say the current animation, here we have this get current frame. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if we can get current frame and just see if that value's changing upon the warp zone transition finishing. So let's see here. Let's say this is gonna be player frame. We'll just put frame and we'll put, let's see, our global player and then current animation. Or dot animations get current frame? No. What would it be? Do we not have our player? Okay, let's see. We don't define it in the class, we define it when we instantiate it, I think. So how are we... We're deferring the render to the entity class. Oh no. Oh no. This is... No! This is what I did. Shit, that's how I screwed up my harpoon last time. I lost all my... Oh, here we go. I didn't ruin them. Okay. So let's see, I guess, our entity class and see how we're pulling out the current frame. We defer it to the state machine. So let's check out our state machine for our player. Yeah. What are we doing? Okay. Well, we're running get current frame on the anim, and the anim is a current animation. Okay. So we should be able to say global player dot current animation colon get current frame method, and then we'll be able to hopefully see what frame we're at. So we'll say dot 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 g global player dot current animation. Now that is a whole quad of animations. So like for walking down, it's two different frames of alternating, like left hand, right hand, left hand, right hand. But we want to know exactly what frame we've got, because we're trying to see, and it should be changing. It's just that this should be 20, and then we can see it. Okay, so see this, like when I'm walking right, frame is 7/8, 7/8, 7/8. Maybe we can make this bigger too. Let me see. If we go to our constants, where is that? Really? Here, let's just put our scale factor up. We'll scale it up to 3. Maybe that'll be bigger once we load the game. Okay, and then when we reset, let's just say that this is 4. Okay, easier to see now. Okay, so walking right, 7/8, 7/8, 7/8. Walking left, 5/6, 5/6. Now the default frame, it'll always default to 5. So if we let go while we're in 6, it'll default to 5, and that's so that we can preserve like a step like that if you keep spamming it, because otherwise we were having it where he wouldn't change until a certain amount of time has elapsed when you walk a certain direction. So what's happening here is something like this, where since default frame is 2 for walking downwards, if we start a warp transition and our hand is in a frame 1, it doesn't swap to the default frame until we're done with the warp transition, which just looks weird and it feels weird to me. So just like that, how up was at what, 3 and 4? See, it swaps to 4. Okay, so it's like, yeah, I think we want to, I don't get why. Oh, we're not updating our player. We're not updating our player during a warp. So it's like waiting. It's like waiting to swap to its default frame until it's done warping, which is not exactly what we want. So I guess let's try to find where we're doing that, where we're changing, we're not updating our player if we're warping. So Let's do a search for not warping. Oops. And not warping. Okay, so this isn't the update, though. This isn't the update. I think we're holding off on the player update. I think we need to take this line and put it where we're doing the don't update the player if we're warping, which I don't know where it is. Let's search for .warping and see if we can find it. We should be doing right here. Okay, so in our player class, we're saying if we're not warping, update, but otherwise don't update. So maybe if we're not warping, well, let me think. Yeah, so maybe we can say else here. Like if we're, oh god, what am I doing? Okay, so else if we are warping, then let's go into our global player and we'll go into our current animation and we will do a refresh on the current animation, which should reset its default, even though we're not updating the entity's animation, but we are manually updating it here if we're warping. So maybe that'll fix the problem here. Nope. Yeah, we're just, I guess let's see if we look at our entity definitions, we can see what the default frame is. Where is it? Okay, I think when we were doing this, since we wanted the animation every step, we have it so that the first frame is the frame opposite of the starting animation, and a default frame would have to be the second one. I don't know where we're saying that though. Where are we saying something like, oh, see, look. See how the idle ones only have one frame? And let's see, so like for walking down, we have 1 and 2. I'm assuming 1 is the non-default and 2 is the default. I think that's right. So walk down is, idle down is 2. So maybe we can change, yeah, maybe this would work if we go about the route of changing the state of the character to be idle. So let's try to do that, because it would be in a total new animation during a warp transition altogether, and it wouldn't have the ability to swap to the wrong frame because there's only one available frame in the idle state, and it's the default frame, which should avoid the reset to the non-default frame. So let's go back. Let's undo this, and we're gonna say, just like how we do a change state on our player. Let's see. Yeah, see how we're changing a state to player walk here. Right from the get-go, and that's wrong too. That was a fix. Yeah, we'll probably want to fix that at some point. But let's try to manually switch the state of our player to a player idle if if we trigger a warp zone collision. So let's go find our warp zone collision here. Right here. Okay, so if we collide and we're not warping, what is going on? We're gonna do a how was it? Nope. Change state. Okay. So we're gonna change state, and it's gonna be changing a state to idle. I believe that is it. Let's see. We might have, yeah. Okay. Idle, player idle. Okay. Let's try that. Where are we? Okay. If we collide, it'll change our state to idle. So we'll check the debugging, the print debugging, to see if our state's actually idle. See how it says player state walk. We're looking at for it to be idle once we walk in here, and we crash. 59. Where was that? 59 on player idle state. What? Why would you crash there? Bad argument 1 on idle state 59. Texture expected got nil. We might not be getting a current animation for this. Let's see. If we take out that one line, do we crash? We don't. Okay, so something here, when we go to say change state, now we're able to say change state to a player walk. That doesn't crash. Okay, but why? Because ideally we would change to idle anytime no inputs are being pressed either. Okay, this is really confusing. Why is it crashing there? $59, right here. Bad argument 1. Character fire element. Hey, Magnetonics. Yeah, you know, every time I stream at 7, my stream just seems to crap out. Like, it'll dump and cancel the stream for like almost a whole hour, like from 7 to 8. I don't know if it's like congested on the internet network over here. I don't know. So I've been kind of just streaming later, and I seem to have better luck with consistent streams, like 0 drop frames so far. So I don't know. I don't know. And then I'm in class right now too. So I'm kind of trying to balance like doing a little bit of homework and then still being able to stream a little later. But I don't know. I feel like right at 7 p.m. is where my internet is the worst, and that's right when I'm streaming. So I don't know. Okay. This is a weird thing. The walk state. Hey, sounds good. Hey, thanks Magnetonics. Thanks for stopping in. What is really weird is we have our player walk state saved as a self.player, but our player idle state is saved as a self.entity. So I don't exactly know why we have it like that. Self.entity. Because yeah, it should be, this should be self.player, but look, if we, here, let's compare. If we do, that's not the direction I wanted. If we do this and we say, let's find if that is our player idle state, we want our walk state. Yeah, see how we require a player that we're saving as a dot player, but we're calling it entity. So it's just a nominal convention, I guess. Entity. Let's go ahead and just change it and see if we can change our entity for player. I don't know if that'll make a difference, but let's see. Okay, still crashing there. Now, there was an issue. If we look at, let's see. I think if we look at our player class and look at when we, I think this is similar to the reason why we're changing our state right from the get-go. Right. No. Entity idle. Shoot. There was a thing I had just seen, I forget where it was, where we're kind of manually assigning our state. Let's see, player walk is what it was. Right here. So in our play state init, we're changing the state to player walk. So look, if we don't change it here, but we go to where our player is defined here, can we do this and say, can we change it up here after we declare it? Okay, no. So if we get rid of that, we crash altogether because it can't index a current animation. So it's weird that we'd have to, well, it makes sense we'd have to give it a state so it can render what state it's in, but if we were to try to render idle, we should get that same crash at line 59. Yeah. Texture expected, and it got nil on 59, but when we go and peek at that, it has texture expected. It was argument 1, right? So character fire element is not a global texture, even though it is. We know it is. And that would be in our dependencies. Character fire element. Fire element. Really? Huh. Fire element. Okay, so fire element is actually just element because what we're doing is we're changing the color of the element based on what you select in the inventory system. So the fire element is really just an element, a white square is all it is. But if we look at our dependencies for our fire element, huh. Okay, yeah, it's called character element. So maybe that's why it's jacked up. Yeah, it's called character element. And what? Yeah, so all of our idle... Okay, so yeah, that makes more sense. Let's substitute any character fire element with... And I already forgot. It's called character element. But how is it spelled? Like that hyphen? Character element, character element. Character element. Character element, okay. It's still crashing. Is there a fire element anywhere else? And what are we missing here? How are we rendering in our play state, or in our walk state for our character? How are we rendering? Come on, man. Oh, here. Character element. Gosh, okay. Okay, player idle. We switch to a walk, but... there we go. Okay, so it does swap to idle once we're... okay. I think it fixed our issue. Because if we look at... yeah, so like when we're walking down, it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 on the frames, right? And then our default frame is frame 2. So as soon as we trigger a walk down... yeah, okay, I guess the issue is we're rendering a fire element equip The frame is right, but see now he's holding a fire element right now when it's not equipped. So he should only be holding it if we equip it over here. So if fire spell equipped, how are we? Yeah, if fire spell equipped, that is wrong. Let's look at our player walk state real quick. Okay, how are we rendering? Oh, we're doing the same thing. If fire spell equipped, then we're going to set color. Oh, okay, we have to set color. That should be right. We're technically... Come on. We're technically setting the color to be transparent if nothing is equipped. Okay, that really bugs me. It's like I can't yank from another window in Tmux, which is like, there's got to be a way to do that. So if we look at what it is global key item inventory dot element color. That's what we want to set our color to. So we say set color key item inventory element color. Okay. So now I'm hoping, hey freshwater firm, yeah. I don't normally do late night streams, but yeah. I had a long work week, and then I was just kind of like, when I get like exhausted, the only way I can describe it is like my bones feel empty. So like I woke up with like that empty feeling, and I needed to just like really, really rest before I felt like I could do anything. Okay, so we're not rendering our element. Our frame is corrected on the initial warp, and we are triggering our idle state. So I guess the next thing to do, I guess it doesn't really matter, but we should become idle if there's no inputs, right? Because it still thinks our player state is walk, which is fine because it's just not updating its walking animation. But for the sake of, well, and you know what? This is actually different too. Yeah. Oh, so freshwater fern, you stream too? I try to stream at 7, but 7 Mountain Time is normally when I stream, but I've been taking classes recently, so that's been throwing off my normal balance. But yeah, I'm in Mountain Time, so it's just about midnight right now. Oh, okay. Nice. Yeah, it is tough. And then I'm job hunting. So I'm working full time, freelancing on the weekends too, and then side projects and streaming and job hunting and studying for school. So it's like there's no wonder why I'm like so tired when I wake up in the mornings. This is looking good though. So I guess the thing I was trying to say is that the walk state here is literally just a variable. It's not the actual state our player is in, because I can't figure out how to change that. So that's actually, we have to figure out how to print that to screen so we can actually tell which state we're in. So we'll have to figure that out, but at least we fixed this issue that was bugging me. So once I commit this, I'll be able to deploy it to the web so that it'll be fixed on there. Oh, and look at that. We have a wrong tile set here. Yeah, Love2d, I really love it. I love it because it's open source, right? It's free to use. It's commercially You can make money off the game that you post. It compiles Windows, Mac, and Linux, and the web. So I've got a pipeline set up where I can just deploy to the website. Hey, thank you for the follow. I really love it. So it's got all the things I'm looking for, which is like easy to use, open source, very flexible. RGB, there's a little magic to it. It's like it's easy to read, and it just, you crash all the time at indexing a nil value, but that's the only thing I have against it, and I think that's just Lua stuff. Let's fix this tile that's screwed up. Oh my god. I don't know why we screwed this up. We had a... Let's just get this fixed real quick. Oh, it's a top level tile. We must have accidentally put that on there. Okay, that should fix that. Let's see. Yeah, and hopefully sometime very soon, load files directly. Yeah, so I totally get that RGB, and I love, for the master tiled here, at least because Lua is so simple. I'm sure, there's other stuff for other engines, but all we do is when we hit, we can save that. If we export this as a global map, and then we look at that global map, it's so easy, like you're saying, like to load in, like mod loading or whatever, in our global map. Where is it? It's just like, yeah, we're just able to snag this data in Lua from this export. So our game just runs through and grabs all the tiles and goes and puts them in the correct spot right from just drawing them here. So it's like, it makes it super easy. And then that's the cabin we warp to. We walk in over here and then we warp all the way over here. So we can, once we, build more of the game out, we can have all kinds of different dungeons and stuff over there. But we saved the global map, so now when we run our game, I'm hoping it's just fixed. And Game Maker, Freshwater, I've heard a lot of good things about. I've just never tried it. Also meaning files from the save directory. Oh, is this for I guess I don't know. Is there like a .write or whatever? I've only messed with writing files in Lua once for the high score of my other arcade game. But if that's what you're talking about, I agree. I felt the fact that I was able to figure it out is pretty awesome. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was really cool. So I'm excited for that too, because we're gonna have, it's gonna be like Link's Awakening, where you start with 3 hearts or whatever, and you can find the heart containers. Look at my code, my programmer art for the heart containers over here. All the programmer art for the stand-in inventory system. But yeah, I love Love2d. I've got, I learned game dev on it, so I think everyone's a little particular to whatever they learn with. Nice. Yeah, the one thing I haven't tried is seeing if you can write data to the iOS build deployment or whatever. I don't know how that works on mobile. So there is a way to build for iOS and everything, and I've done it before. It's just that I haven't tested the write system or file system read and write from there. So I'm a little worried about that, and that'll be a big thing to consider before we get too much further into developing the game. Because if we, it's just a big thing. If we can't save our progress, then it's like really kind of sucks. So this is coming together though. There was a weird glitchy thing I thought I saw here. Oh, what it is I was seeing the spell in my hand from the back here. There's like 1 pixel of spell you can see. Yeah, I wonder if that's the same with... Yeah, it should change with any other spell color. Yeah. Okay, so that wasn't a glitch I saw. It was just what I did. Okay. That's cool. Cool. Okay. So let's get our... We'll get our debugging off screen so that I can deploy this to the web. And we have those 2 things fixed. So let's just... Did I write that? Okay, nice. So I think tomorrow we might be working on getting our reading signs back, because right now the enter button is the inventory button, so like start on the Game Boy. But we want oh, we've got it. Yeah, okay, we've got it. We've got it. It's pressing A, but we might want to do a check where, like, if you've got a spell in your hand, pressing A is also spellcast. But, oh, I guess that works. If you press A, it kind of just pauses the spellcast. I guess that makes sense. Okay. I don't think this is working on mobile, but it's nice that we've got it. So we'll have to add it for mobile, and then we can work on the pagination for multiple lines for our dialogue system, and then put it also on NPCs so that we can talk to our NPCs for once. So that'll be fun. Yeah, so I guess it'll be, let's see, what's the big things is, like, we need to flesh out some more sprites so that our game can look a little more interesting, because most of our game is placeholder garbage like this. So if we give ourselves a couple more sprites to draw with, we can build out maybe like a 5x5 or a 4x4 map that's looking pretty decent, so that when people play, because sometimes I'll raid people and then they'll like want to play, and then they play and there's nothing for them to do. At least now when they walk in here, there's I mean, there's still nothing to do, but at least it does something instead of just walks you inside an empty cabin. I mean, it teleports you to an empty cabin, but that is one step above just being inside a hole. We do have our loot system working on mobile, which is cool. But there's still stuff to work out with that too. Okay, so yeah, I guess dialogue system, and hey, thanks Freshwater. Yeah, it's heavily inspired by Link's Awakening, so a lot of the style is heavily borrowed from that. I won't say stolen, because I did draw it myself. But the flowers, I think the flower animation, the shape of the flower animation is ripped off from Link's Awakening, but I did my own colors. Yeah, heavily inspired and definitely not stolen. Yeah, well, I mean, it's like with a 16 by 16 tile size, there's only so many combinations of pixels you can do for like a flower, you know? It's like there's like 8 pixels to work with if you're fitting 2 flowers on the same tile, so it's like how can you really like copyright 4 pixels worth of a flower, like whatever. And then I drew the other players I drew, you know, with just trial and error and all that stuff. But and like the stuff I drew, you could definitely tell like that tree is definitely mine altogether, like completely mine. The cabin is definitely all mine. The NPCs and the player are mine. The loot is mine. But like these posts are technically ripped off, but it's like they're like you can't really make a unique, like that's what I want them to look like. They'd just be like wooden posts sticking up, so it's like, yeah, I don't know. But like the geckos, like I made the geckos. These are all mine. Yeah, we'll have to add some advanced, because see how the gecko can walk over the collidable objects? It shouldn't be able to do that, and if we add collision like we do for our player, then they would just get stuck in a perpetual walking, because this one's only tracking my, you know, my X position first, and then he goes for my Y. So if he were colliding with that stump, he would never go to chase me because he wouldn't be aligned with me horizontally. So we might need to add some more pathfinding if we add some collision detection for the AI enemies. But yeah, I don't know. We'll have to figure out. I'll probably take a day to kind of brainstorm and think of like what are the big next things we need to focus on for the game. But it is definitely coming along, and I've made some good progress. So here, I'll wrap up before this ad break hits, and we can call it a night. I'm gonna say that we added, or we set player state to idle upon warp. That's about all we did. But it was a little trickier to find than we thought, so we've got that committed. Hey, thanks for watching, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow. I don't know when. I've actually got a get-together tomorrow, so it'll probably be in the afternoon sometime. But yeah, hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for the follow, Freshwater. I appreciate it. We'll raid out here. We'll hit up Hypnotic because he's always doing game dev stuff. But yeah, thanks. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all later.